Good morning, my name is Josh from CyclonesOZ, and today another detailed forecast update coming your way. We're going to be talking about some rainfall up in far north Queensland, some very heavy rainfall across the Northern Territory, a rain bomb expected to develop across central parts of Australia next week, and we'll recap on some winter weather that's been blasting New South Wales, Victoria and Tasmania. All of that plus more coming up in today's weather forecast. If you are brand new to the channel, please do consider subscribing. Your support lately has been greatly appreciated. We're going to start things off over in Queensland's far north. Showers and storms, or the odd storm, have been streaming ashore from an onshore flow that's sliding under some pretty significant cloud banding activity over the far north of Queensland. This shower and storm activity has provided some healthy rainfall accumulations up there, and as you can see on the current radar frame, there is still some more heavy rainfall that's streaming ashore right now in the form of intermittent heavy showers, and that's going to be continuing throughout the remainder of today. If this radar imagery does care to load in, you will be able to see just the flow of the rain that's been occurring over the past sort of 6 to 12 hours. Some pretty good falls have been reported as well from this weather event. We've been talking about rainfall totals up towards 30 millimetres on the forecast, and there have been places picking up between 20 and 30 millimetres of rainfall. So all in all, it has been pretty healthy, the rainfall up there, with a couple more hours of the showers expected to continue throughout the course of today. The showers are actually keeping temperatures rather mild as well, as parts of Queensland endure a bit of a heat wave or a very hot start to September, that's for sure. So the temperatures up there are being a little more pleasant compared to other locations, especially around Queensland's far north. The winds, however, are definitely quite violent across parts of Queensland's far north. Along the coastline, you see this here, Arlington Reef, 37 kilometres an hour, but it's quite gusty further out to shore on some of the outer reefs here, Holmes Reef, and down towards, I believe, Flinders Reef, 50 kilometre an hour winds gusting into the gale force zones out there. So it is quite a windy one on parts of the far north Queensland coastline, not only with the showers, but I wouldn't really advise boating or doing any kind of shore-based activity just with these winds here that are currently streaming ashore. It is going to make for some rather unpleasant weather throughout the course of today, and elevated seas are also expected, and that's really what you get from a weather event like this. Now, taking a look at the weather forecast, you can see under the influence of a high pressure ridge, which is funneling all of these winds and a bit of the shower activity further north, you can see the showers are expected to continue throughout the course of today before easing off tonight and into early tomorrow morning. There still will be showers lingering throughout Wednesday for Queensland's far north. They will clear out pretty much completely by Thursday afternoon. It looks like a return to some drier conditions expected for Queensland's far north, albeit Friday a few showers are possible. But it looks like for a good couple of days, in fact, maybe a whole week, the showers stay well away from far north Queensland. And take a look at this. Rainfall accumulations over the next 10 days really aren't that high over far north Queensland. The majority of this rainfall is actually expected to fall until 9 a.m. on Thursday. So just over the next 48 hours, they're expecting a further 30 millimetres on top of what has already fallen. And I expect rainfall accumulations to be higher than this, especially in some of the mountainous valleys. I'm expecting peak accumulations to approach 50 or 60 millimetres over the next 24 hours. So certainly going to be some moderate to heavy rainfall across parts of far north Queensland. For some valleys, the 60 millimetres is absolutely nothing at all. That's just a trickle of rainfall. However, for others, it can start to add up quite quickly and can start to add to those river levels. Not expecting flooding from this weather event either, need I say any more. But take a look at this. Rainfall accumulations from Saturday onwards throughout the entirety of next week. Take a look at this. Just a few drops of rainfall expected across Queensland's far north. In fact, this is some of the driest weather that I've seen for the past 12 months up there. This is highly unusual considering the forecast that we've made. It's not highly unusual for the time of the year, but it is something that I didn't really expect to happen. I thought that the dry activity or the drier weather was starting to come to a close up here. Probably going to have to wait a few more weeks for the proper rainfall to start kicking in up in far north Queensland. But take a look at here. Up in the Solomon Sea, there's some good rainfall, and it's starting to creep further south. For those rain lovers up in Queensland's far north, it's only going to be a month and a half until this is right on top of you, and it looks like the rainfalls are really going to start piling on up there. Now, before we go and talk about the rain bomb, which you can just see on the left-hand side of your screen, we're going to go down into southern Australia and just take a look at what's going on over in the southeast. There's nothing too much in the way of severe weather expected over the next 10 days. There is some heavy rainfall, though, across parts of Tasmania's west coast, rather, and there's some damaging winds that are currently being reported now as well, at Cyclone Island, with winds down to up to 85 kilometres an hour, and some stronger wind gusts expected across the interior parts of Tasmania throughout the course of today. So let's break down this forecast for you right now. It's specifically for Tasmania, but we are going to include Victoria and the alpine areas around New South Wales in this forecast as well. We do have a bit of a winter weather stream kind of piling ashore right now as this high pressure ridge weakens and moves further north, and this is funneling some strong winds from the Bass Strait and through the roaring 40s channel through parts of Tasmania. Now, that means showers are going to be light, but they're still going to linger for the remainder of today. They will pipe up again tomorrow with the passage of a cold front expected early tomorrow afternoon for the central parts of Tasmania. Victoria expecting negligible rainfall from this weather event, most likely for Wednesday afternoon, so tomorrow afternoon, but again, it will only be a couple of drops, and the heaviest falls will be reserved for the south coast. Some falls are also possible across Tasmania's interior, including some flurries of snow. You can see Thursday this strong cold front makes its passage through, and behind it brings a wake of very powerful cold winds and some very cool temperatures as well, and that's going to mean those snow levels are going to drop dramatically. We're expecting snow down to about 200 metres by Thursday afternoon and early evening, so certainly going to be quite a violent night, that's for sure, Thursday afternoon into Thursday night and Friday morning. The weather is going to be quite wintry and quite violent and a little bit more unseasonal for late time September. So again, this is a strong winter front that's coming through, and certainly something we need to be watching quite closely. And it's just a series of rain bands and cold fronts and, you know, the sort of stuff, just showers streaming ashore for the west coast of Tasmania, right up until about Sunday morning, when a high pressure ridge is expected to replace that more sort of violent weather. And in its wake, because the high pressure ridge is going to be in the Tasman Sea, it's going to be bringing in some warm temperatures Sunday afternoon into Monday morning for parts of New South Wales, Victoria, and they will creep into the northern parts of Tasmania as well. In fact, Monday is going to be a warm day across New South Wales, expecting temperatures into the low 30s for parts of much of the state actually, and then to the high 20s for the northern parts of Victoria, and the high teens for the northern parts of Tasmania. So certainly going to be a warm one indeed before the passage of more winter weather comes through later on next week, Wednesday and Thursday onwards. So again, this is quite a complex winter forecast for parts of Tasmania, certainly a lot of moving parts to it, that's for sure. But the times that I've got my focus on is going to be Thursday morning right through to about Friday evening, when we are expecting the passage of that strong cold front. Temperatures are going to struggle to rise above the double digits throughout much of Tasmania on Thursday. It's going to be quite a cold one indeed, and you can see here temperatures, in fact, probably not expected to rise above zero for locations in central Tasmania. It's going to be a very cold day on Thursday and a very cold night on Friday, as well as those showers do start to ease off. And with these winds, it's going to be a chilly one as well, especially along the coastline, expecting some pretty gnarly wind chill factors across much of Tasmania. It's going to be quite unpleasant, the weather, that's for sure. And in terms of snowfall, expecting up to 60 centimetres of the stuff until Saturday evening from now, so quite a lot of snow is expected, and down to some low elevations as well along the west coast, especially in the southwest wilderness region, expecting snow down to about 100 or even 200 metres. It's going to be in the lower elevations. Hobart not expecting it down that low. We could still see snow above 500 metres around the Hobart area and about 700 metres into the northeast of the state as well, but in the southwest and along the west coast, it's going to be low elevation snowfall accumulations, that is for sure. And just throughout the next, until the end of the week on Sunday, we're expecting a further 120 millimetres of rainfall to fall across central parts of Tasmania. It's going to be a wet one indeed. Into the southwest wilderness, totals between 80 and 120 millimetres expected. Strawn expecting a healthy 100 millimetres. Hobart expecting about 30 millimetres of rainfall. The majority of that's going to be coming through Thursday and Friday. Launceston, only a piddly 10 to 15 millimetres expected out there. The northeast is going to miss out on the rainfall from these weather fronts. It's just coming in from that bad angle from the southwest, where it's going to get chopped up by the mountainous regions and not make it over the mountains of central Tasmania. So the northeast is unfortunately going to miss out. Parts of Victoria coastline could also receive some decent falls as well, down towards Wilson's Promontory, expecting up to 60 millimetres of rainfall as well. So some good falls expected there, and some snow as well possible into the higher elevations, probably above 900, or looking at this map, probably about 1100 metres is when the snow is expected to fall and settle there. Now, like I said, by Sunday next week, it's going to all be getting replaced by a high-pressure ridge, and it looks like it will clear out from then. And that leads us very nicely on into the next part of the video, because Sunday we do have a weather system developing across parts of the Northern Territory, but we will get to that in just a few seconds. We're going to just recap on the heavy to intense rainfall that fell across much of the Northern Territory throughout the course of last night. From 2 to 2:30 a.m. this morning, Darwin received a whopping 45 millimetres of rainfall, some heaviest rainfall that they do typically get, even in the height of the wet season. So some very heavy falls have been reported up there, and the showers just starting to ease off now. Howley Creek in the Adelaide River Territory picked up a whopping 83 millimetres of rainfall overnight, so the heaviest September rainfall there, pretty much on record for much of the northern parts of the Northern Territory, and the showers extending into Western Australia as well. There's limited thunderstorm activity. It's mostly just light to moderate rainfall at this time. The rainfall will also continue to ease off throughout the course of today, and you can see it pretty much clearing out by this afternoon and evening. A few few thunderstorms still expected to linger across the northern parts of the Northern Territory into early Wednesday morning, but the majority of the significant rainfall will clear out by Wednesday evening, with the showers clearing out of Darwin finally by Wednesday night and early Thursday morning. And it's only going to be a couple of days of dry weather. I mean, take a look at this. On Saturday morning, we're expecting showers and storms to develop across the northern parts of Western Australia along a trough line, which could resemble a monsoon trough extending down from Indonesia. That means we're going to get evening pulse thunderstorms across much of northern Western Australia. Pretty much anywhere north of Marble Bar across to a line towards Curacao is expecting a chance of thunderstorms on Saturday night. So for those chasing up there, or interested in chasing pulse thunderstorms, looks like it's going to be some great chasing conditions for it. The roads are dry, they're open, they're clear up there, and this is going to be the first significant bout of pulse thunderstorms that we're going to see this year, and they look like they're going to fire up pretty significantly. However, beyond that, with the passage of high pressure systems and low pressure systems and troughs left, right, and centre from Sunday morning, the forecast is just so annoying to have to write. I really don't know what to make of this here. However, with low pressure systems and trough lines extending across Western Australia into the Northern Territory, I am expecting a widespread rainfall event to take place from Sunday afternoon onwards. With the passage of a low pressure system expected to move through the Great Australian Bight, it's going to drag all of this moisture across Central Australia into the Northern Territory and South Australia and provide what's going to be a resembling of a rain bomb, to be honest. A lot of rainfall is expected across Central Australia throughout Sunday and Monday the 22nd and 23rd of September, and then Tuesday the 24th the rainfall will finally start to concentrate more into the Northern Territory along what's going to be a trough line extending into a low pressure system across New South Wales, and that's going to fire up some showers and storms Tuesday night and into Wednesday morning, when they will finally start to weaken off and ease by Wednesday evening and Thursday morning. It's going to be a long week of rainfall across much of Central Australia. I do advise, if you are a grey nomad, to get yourself into Western Australia, preferably south of sort of Valgo or Curacao. It's still wildflower season over there. It's starting to warm up now, however, it is still pretty nice travelling through there, so I would recommend getting yourself down there just to avoid all of this rainfall that's expected to blow up across Central Australia. If you're closer to Queensland, get yourself over to the Gulf of Carpentaria coastline as well. You don't really want to be travelling in this sort of rainfall here. It makes for very unpleasant camping conditions. And just take a look at the rainfall accumulation map here from Sunday through to Thursday next week. There are some big accumulations possible. The Eastern Cliff is definitely the most bullish of all of the forecast models in terms of how much rainfall they're expecting. But I mean, take a look at this. Widespread totals up to 150, even 160 millimetres expected across places. Take a look at this, 170 millimetres outside of Halls Creek in Western Australia. So some big accumulations are possible here, and this will cause flooding, and some pretty significant flooding as well, especially for this time of the year. If it does happen over a 6-hour period, which it does look to be, it looks like it's going to be a big burst of very heavy rainfall. There's going to be a lot of runoff here. Gullies will flow, rivers will likely get topped up here. So I would recommend getting yourself probably into a more drier zone. Pretty much anywhere in the Queensland area is safe, maybe except for the southwestern corner of Queensland. South Australia is also a pretty safe bet as well, anywhere south of Alice Springs. And like I also said, Western Australia, which is my personal recommendation, get yourself over into Western Australia. If you are travelling through the Northern Territory right now, maybe speed things up a little bit, or if you're in Western Australia right now and you're planning on heading over into the Territory, just slow things down a little bit and enjoy Western Australia a little bit more. Just take a look at this rainfall here. You don't want to be moving through this. This is some very heavy accumulations here, and some pretty significant flooding is always possible when we're talking about this. Again, I really don't know exactly what to make of the forecast here, because if you do take a look at the rainfall accumulation map again, the total precipitation expected over the next sort of 5 days or so from Saturday through to Thursday, the GFS and the Axis G3 don't exactly know what to make of it either. The Axis G3 is calling for a lot of rainfall, more so on the Western Australian side of things, in fact a pretty similar quantity. The Eastern Relief is still going ham across the Northern Territory and Western Australia, which I do think is the most kind of likely scenario at this time, and the GFS are not really calling for much in the way of rainfall either at this time as well. So there's some big discrepancies between the models at this time. I'm pretty certain that at least 1 or 2 locations will pick up 200 millimetres between Saturday and Thursday of next week, most likely in the Northern Territory, but could also be in Western Australia, and there'll be widespread areas that pick up over 50 millimetres of rainfall from this weather event, even just from the thunderstorms expected to fire up this weekend across Western Australia. It looks like it's going to be a pretty wet run to end off September across central parts of the tropics in Australia. So we will be keeping a very close eye on things on the forecast. Again, I'm not promising anything to come to fruition right now. This is just a forecast, and it is a preliminary one at that. I'll be able to give a very detailed forecast on this weather event by Thursday, definitely Friday at the latest. So make sure you are subscribed for that, and you don't want to be missing that, especially if it does concern you, this weather, because it does look to be quite gnarly and quite significant, that's for sure. And I will keep you posted on all things weather around Australia as well, definitely over the tropical seasons. I can't wait to start tracking some proper tropical rainfall. But that is all for me today. Thank you so much for watching the video to this point. If you haven't already, please do consider subscribing. Your support lately has been much appreciated. But that is all for me today, and I'll catch you all in the next store. Goodbye.